going straight down the freeway. All of a sudden, the truck started turning to the left really, really hard, started pulling real hard, went into the gravel. I tried to correct coming back. Truck spun this way, started to fishtail a little bit, and then it went just like this, sideways down the freeway, screeching on all four tires, going 60 miles an hour down the freeway, hopping. And unfortunately, I've seen the YouTube videos, so I understand what's going to happen next.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts, the show where we dig into the minds of the people moving the insurance industry forward. And today's guest is someone who's helped thousands of agencies rethink how they interact with prospects and turn data collection from a clunky pain point into a streamlined growth opportunity. Joining us today is none other than Casey Armstrong, Senior Account Executive at Canopy Connect, one of the most fascinating technologies in the insurance industry to me. And Casey has spent years of experience helping agencies modernize their sales process, and he's a pro at balancing speed, authenticity, and results. He's known for bringing a personal touch to high efficiency selling. And if your agency is still stuck asking for declarations or running quotes off of guesswork, this is definitely the call that you want to be on. Today, we're going to be talking about modern insurance data intake, how to reduce friction in your sales process, and how to create a better experience for both your team and your prospects. And ultimately, how to win more business with less grind. So let's welcome to the show, Casey Armstrong. Hey, Casey, how are you? I think you might be on mute here. Let me just double check. Do you mind? We'll do a quick mic fix here, everybody.
Hey, how's it going there, Andy? Really
Man, we got you
appreciate you
now.
having me on the call, my man. Thanks for reaching out and having me here.
And so excited. I was super thrilled to meet you. And you shared some of your personal story with me, which a little bit later on, if you're okay with it, I might want to, get into some of the stories you had shared. Because they're pretty, I'm still like moved to this day from what you had told me. But before we kind of get deeper into that, today, as we talk through systems, Canopy Connect, data enrichment, so on and so forth, I'd love everybody to kind of meet the man behind the curtain, right? Get to know Casey a little bit better. It's no easy thing, serving agencies every day and performing at a high level for a year, let alone 2 or 3 or 4. And you've had many years helping agencies connect the dots on this. So I'd love to kind of know how you found yourself in the industry. Like, what were you doing prior to Canopy Connect? And like, how did you ultimately align and say, like, my gifts, my talents, my skill set is like a good fit for what these guys have going on over here at Canopy Connect?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually in live entertainment. I worked for a local union in San Jose and kind of Silicon Valley there.
Hmm.
We did big events for, like Justin Timberlake, you know, uh, basically everybody, like everybody you think of, Justin Bieber, everybody coming through there to Apple, Google, Facebook. I was a lighting designer. I was the one blinding the CEOs and the talent on stage. Then the pandemic came. We were the first ones to lose our jobs. I didn't want to sit around. Employment doesn't fit me, so I went back to school. Went to a little boot camp for tech sales and interviewed with 20 different companies. And Camping was the only one that was actually helping the American people, small business owners, and it helped people that really resonated with me because my dad, he was actually a insurance agent. Actually, I keep his mug on my desk here from when he was a top agent in 1972. So, needless to say, I've seen what y'all have to do, and I've seen what you had to do back in the day with paper, not even on the computers. So it just made sense. I was just essentially helping my dad. Bless his soul. If he would have seen this thing, he would have fallen out of his chair.
I love that, man. That's incredible. And it's funny how the industry and you found each other, and just that it's probably a little bit in your DNA. And with your many years of experience in this, I want to dive into some of the things that you notice, because I feel like some of the best scribes and observers of what's happening? Are those actually consulting with and working with the business owners, right? Because like one agency might have a relationship with two, three, four of their friends. They talk about their systems, but there's literally hundreds of thousands of agencies. And so you are out there talking to three, five, eight, 10, whatever it is per day across multiple states. But I'm sure that, you know, getting a larger sample set, you start to have realizations about, you know, things that could be done better. You start to see trends. And so first question would just be, you know, what do you think is the biggest time waster that you see in an average agency's sales process? Where are they inefficient typically?
Dealing with a prospect that's not a good fit for them, but you have no idea that they're not a good fit for your agency until we get to the end of the conversation, when we either run the MBR or we get the loss runs on the commercial side. And unfortunately, we can find out that maybe we just wasted 40 minutes on the phone,
Hmm.
or if they're a commercial prospect, we just wasted 2 weeks of back and forth to find out, ooh, Frank, you couldn't have told me that your driver hit a school bus a month ago? Or Janice, you didn't remember about all those water damage claims on the basement there? Ooh, not such a good fit for the agency anymore.
Hmm. That's beautiful, and you know, we're gonna get more into like how that sounds and what that looks like, so that it's not abrupt and it doesn't create like a negative customer experience. But you're getting the data that you need to like either spend time and invest time with them, or move on if need be. What you know, walk us through what a modern data intake flow should look like for an agency in 2025.
You should have everything at the beginning. You know, when you go to the doctor, they don't just rush you into surgery and start cutting you open. Doctor reviews everything. They take a look at your x-rays, they take a look at your medical history, and then they're able to come with a educated guess of how they can help you. That's how insurance should be. We should have all the facts at the beginning, so then we're able to identify the gaps, the things you don't know about. Maybe you don't even know that you're not covered for storm water. Wind and hail, that's not even on your policy. And you have a percentage instead of an actual fixed number where, your home, with that percentage you have there, do you have $45,000 in the bank right now to pay for the home if there was a natural disaster? Whereas the agency could offer, $5,000 deductible, much more, you know, softer on the, pocketbook there.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you know, I'm hearing efficiency, right? When I hear this, and it's like, great, you're going to be able to serve the customer better. You come in better prepared. I love the doctor analogy. Um, Beyond just efficiency, right? Because I understand it will cut time out of the process. How does verified insurance data improve quote accuracy, and how big a difference does it really make to have accurate data?
When you have the accurate data, instead of having to do all this back and forth, we got to change the quote. We got to do this. We got to do that. Oh, we're missing this driver. We're missing this other vehicle they have. Oh, we forgot about their rental property because we didn't have the documents on that. If they're with State Farm, they got 20 policies, and collecting 20 policies can be a little bit painstaking for the consumer. Having everything right at the beginning separates you from Joe Schmo down the street that's asking a million questions and, oh, let me call you back. Let me get this. Let me get that. We just keep pushing the deal cycle down the road, whereas we could be helping them right there.
Yeah, no, I'm also hearing there a great opportunity to like see the entire scope of assets that that person is attached to, and being able to come in strategically and look at that and get more business from the same customer, because just simply because you have the information and you know what you're shooting for, and how you can help them, which is beautiful. And then like as you work with a lot of agencies, I'm sure you hear war stories from them about what they're dealing with and what happens on their sales team. What are some, like, I guess I'd call them silent killers in the sales process that slow down conversion, even when the team is working hard and they're doing the right thing and they're making the calls, but just like those parts that maybe turn your stomach and you're like, oh, you know, that's a thorn in your side you might not even as an agent know that you have right now, that's costing you revenue.
The dreaded Sharpie, the whiteout pen, when they actually get those documents to you, they want to try to hide something because they think you have a magic wand in your wallet that you can whip out and change the price. Um, People not sharing the whole enchilada with you, only giving you a little bit. When they come to get a quote, they just give you information on the auto, and they got all these other policies that you could be helping them with too.
Yeah, I love that answer because it's like the silent killer is like disguised under revenue. You got a deal, but the question is, did we get all the deal? Could we have gotten more there? Could we have helped them more? So that's beautiful. And one of the things I know agencies can get nervous about sometimes with this stuff is just, hey, they understand that speed to quote efficiency matters, but they've got that, hey, we want a personal touch. We're your local agency. We don't want to lose that human to human interaction. So, how can you kind of frame for agents maybe in that mindset how to maintain a personal touch while also, increasing their speed to quote at the same time?
Of course, we don't want to lose that personal touch. We want to be able to build that rapport with them. We just build it differently. Instead of building rapport with a bunch of questions, we build rapport with value. Instead of that 30-minute intake, it's a 30-minute review and education,
Mm.
diving deep, understanding things that they just have no clue about. Instead of asking these questions, we get to review our findings, bringing us closer to them because most consumers, they actually think you already have all this stuff. They think you already know everything about us just because of everything else we have going on with Big Brother and also the other stuff. We assume the insurance agent is tied right in. They can capture all this stuff. Reality, most agents, we're only able to see, just a little bit on the auto, and everything else is kind of a black hole. That's where all these rapport building comes in, aka questions. But we're able to turn that around and use that time for actually building rapport, diving into what matters, their coverages.
I love that, truly, because you look at it, you're not replacing the person. If anything, you're automating the pieces of their job that are data collection. And if you were to say, like, I'm a great salesperson. Well, why are you a great salesperson? I'm really good at asking for data. Nobody's ever said that. That's not part of the sales process. That has nothing to do with the buyer psychology. It's all in, like, do I have the time and attention to gather data, or can I instead put my time and attention on understanding you and your problems and building a relationship with you, et cetera. So what I'm hearing is great because it's like it frees them up. It frees them up from that, that busy work, and it gets them into the actual work, which is, growing that account, helping that client out. So that's awesome. And we are gonna, in a couple minutes here, dive deeper into Canopy Connect, because I definitely was pumped to, have agencies, have producers understand what is the technology. Some of you already use it, some of you know what it is, but a lot of you don't. I've been in the industry for years, and I'm still, seeing Canopy Connect. I sort of understand it, but we're going to treat it as if, we have an audience member that knows nothing, which I guarantee we have a lot like that. But before we get into that, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the sales process side on strategy and mindset. You working with agencies, I'm sure you have your growth agencies that are just kind of waking up and they're kind of getting their feet under them. You've got your consistent agencies, and then you've got your unicorns, right? You've got your heavy hitting unicorn accounts. What typically separates, in your opinion, the high growth agencies from the ones that are stuck in survival mode? Like, what traits are you observing in your first 10 minutes with a high performing agent that they don't even have to tell you their numbers? You're just like, I already know the type of agency you are based on X, Y, and Z, if that makes sense.
Exactly. To be able to, easily identify them is, how they come to the call. You know, they're already prepared. They already have questions for me. They already have an idea of how they're going to roll this out to the team. And they're already asking talk tracks. They're already asking me to share information right at the beginning of how to become that unicorn because they already know they are. They're already coming to they're already asking me, how do I post it on social media? What's the best way to have it on my website? And they're already asking me, how do I position this to a consumer?
Hmm. That completely makes sense. Now, what this is I'm hitting Casey with some questions today, some mind bending, but he's a smart dude. So, what's something most agents think is important, but actually doesn't move the needle in their agency?
The busy work, the I'm so busy. As humans, we want to solve problems. That's what we're on earth to do. And sometimes we create problems for ourselves that aren't even really there, just to make it feel as if we're solving more. Um, when in reality, less is more. If we take away a lot of this busy work, a lot of these things that we just think we're getting a lot done in the day, but in reality, they're just little hidden roadblocks, um, collecting
Hmm.
data, claims, all the back and forth. And then the consumers that are even busier than we are, now we can give them another option. Just like at the grocery store, you got two options. You could either go through the standard checkout where maybe the person in front of you is a little chit chatty, maybe it makes you late to making dinner for the family, or you can go through self checkout and you're already in your car before you even think about it.
100%. Man, that resonates so heavily. And I hope everyone caught that. Like that delves into a lot more than just data, right? And just quoting, like just the overall mindset shift. And, David, who's on there on here regularly and the main host of the show, like in his journey of scaling, agencies worth tens of millions in premium, one of the regular activities he always talks about doing is like sitting down once a month and doing a time audit and literally recording out, where did I spend my time today? And then which one of these tasks on here can I delegate or outsource? What can I get rid of? Where should I spend my time? Where do I want to spend my time? And really just like cutting the fat, And there's another gentleman I ran into years ago who's a executive coach for like Fortune 500 CEOs. And he's like, the first thing I look for is not like what to add to your life to help you grow. I look at what you got to remove first. We got to remove the fat and we got to create room and space to go lean in on the more revenue generating activities or the things that you're passionate about. So absolutely love that advice. And I want to connect you to this as well, because at the end of the day, you show up with a very positive attitude. I've met you a couple times now. I've seen you out there, and you have a high output role, right? Like, not, I don't know if everybody understands what it looks like in a day to maybe work with 8 or 10 or 15 different agencies with a variety of problems and challenges of their own. And you've got to almost like remove yourself and your personal wants and needs and just go all in on these problems to be like part of that agency's team. But then you're doing that high output agent to agent to agent. And that's the life you live, right? Which is huge. But I want to get into what maybe mindset shift that you've had over the past couple of years that helps you consistently show up with that positive attitude. Because whether you're a producer on here, you're an agency owner, that one quality that Casey possesses on its own is its own lesson. But I'd be curious for you, whether or not there was something significant in your life that happened that made you go like, "Holy moly!" Like, I've got to look at life differently now, or if it's just how you've always been wired since you were a kid, you're just like, let's go get after it. But really curious to like borrow from your DNA of like, how do you keep things so positive and so sharp all the time?
It was from the live entertainment industry. Um, you'd run into people from across the world, from every walk of life you could think of. And then you'd be running into the talent backstage too, and you'd really show who people really were. Um, just for example, we all know who, Pink is, and we know who Oprah Winfrey is. Pink made 250 of us stand out in the rain and the cold because she wanted to walk through a hallway. Oprah Winfrey, she came through that same hallway, shaking every union member's hand, taking pictures with us with no security.
Mm,
you know, Seeing stuff like that really resonated, really made me understand you don't know what that person's day was earlier. You don't know what they're going through on the other end of the line. So I just try to treat everybody how I want to be treated.
mm,
I try to listen more than I speak so that I understand what they need and how I could maybe help them out and maybe give them a little bit of time back in their day so they can actually spend it with their family or make more money to go to the golf course earlier, whatever it may be. I want to try to help them achieve their goals because helping them helps me. And that's how we all win. We bring up the tide, everybody's boat rises up.
100%. And something hit me a couple months ago, and what you're saying right now is really like resonating into this idea that ultimately we could talk about the reason people make a decision to, let's say, buy an insurance policy, right? Oh, they need the coverage, they made a change, whatever. And same for Canopy Connect, right? I've got an agency, we need to be more efficient, we need to increase our business. let's hook up with Canopy Connect, or team hired, I need to hire some people, I need some telemarketers, whatever. But beyond that, at a deeper level, I really believe people want to do business with people that lift them up. And like you said, you don't know what their day's been like, what they're going through. But I don't know about you. When I come across somebody who is different, right? They've got a little higher energy than normal. They're more keyed into me. They're more present. They're listening more. They're actually taking time to understand what I'm saying, and they're high energy, all in on me in this conversation. I'm like, I want to do business with that person. So, that's a lesson that I think everybody in this audience should also take away from that, right? It's like, you could have the best product, the best policy, the best agency, and then give somebody an impersonal, non-present, kind of mediocre energy level experience. And then go up the street to an agency who maybe has a little higher rate, maybe not as good of an infrastructure. Maybe it's a clunkier process, but the person that they encountered lifted them up. That person brought sunshine to their day. And I believe that the one who's going to win in the long run is the one who does the lift, right? They're the one that brings that energy to the table. Now, if you can combine both, we got the best company, the best product, and the best people that raise your energy. That's just an absolute home run winning combination. But man, that energy is just absolutely viral, and people need that. They need somebody to go like it's not like Casey doesn't have stuff going on, dude. I'm sure you have stresses and reasons that you could have a frown on. You've got reasons you could be low energy, but you bring the heat in presence. Do you have any like rituals or any daily practices or things that you get involved in to kind of maintain that clarity and make sure you don't like get too far down the stress bunny trail and keep it cool, calm, and collected at a high level?
So, if I ever get stressed out, I literally just go in the background and play with my bikes. Like I'm not even playing. I'm not even messing around.
Really?
Like when I get stressed out, I go spin a wheel, play with the brakes, ring the bells, brings me back to my happy place.
That's cool. That's cool.
Just
Everybody need they
easy snap out of, whatever it may be. Go to your happy place. If I'm really stressed out, I go into the garage and I go turn a wrench for a little bit, and it just makes me completely, I'm in a whole different world, like makes you, realize, hey, that's just on a computer screen. Reality's over here. Let's get back in reality. Let's get our game face back on. Let's jump back on the computer screen.
Mhm. Now I know we're kind of going off the beaten trail here, the beaten path, and I want to get into Canopy Connect, but one of the things that, if you'd be open to talking about it, kind of along the same lines of like perspective on life, right? You had shared a story with me about your truck and what had happened with you a few years back, and it was such a powerful story. I wonder if you'd be willing to maybe walk through that as well, because that is not an experience that I think a lot of people will have in their lifetime. Hopefully, right? Because it's
Yeah,
maybe
hopefully, yeah,
hopefully, maybe not
seriously.
hopefully. I don't know. Maybe it was a
Yeah.
blessing in disguise. But I'd love to understand, like, if you could just lay out a little bit of like what happened, because again, like it's such a powerful story and takeaway for me. And I think that people don't have to have that type of an experience to like have a wake up call in their life. But I'd be super curious if that has also played a factor in like who you are today and like some of the traits you have and your approach to life, like how that impacted it. But anyway, I'll give you the mic if you'd be willing to share. I'd love if our audience can maybe tap into that story of yours as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to share the story of a truck.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a little slide here I'll share, showing how big a truck was. Let me just pull that up really quick.
Yeah, and if you can't share it out on, oh, you got it.
I
I was going to
think
say if you can't share
so.
it for whatever reason, you can just message it over to me and I can put it up.
Should be able to pop it up. Let me know if it pops up here.
Um, I don't think it's. We love Casey because he actually came prepared with slides, which is great. Let me add this to stage. There we go.
Awesome, there it is. So this was truck over here. Um, Actually, here we go. Now we got mouse there. So this is my truck. It was a fully custom built SEMA show truck with an 18-inch lift on it. Um, got it for an insane deal. I loved it until it gave its life for me, needless to say. And the other pictures you can see down the road here. Um, so I was driving truck to actually go. If you really get to know me, you understand that I love Costco and I love to buy and return stuff. So unfortunately, my Costco barbecue died, and I was taking it back to Costco in truck, and I had it strapped down in the back here. And I was just driving down the freeway in my hometown that I've driven down bazillion times. Unfortunately, today the truck, if we're going down the road like like this, going straight down the freeway, all of a sudden the truck started turning to the left really, really hard. Started pulling real hard, went into the gravel. I tried to correct coming back. Truck spun this way, started to fishtail a little bit, and then it went just like this, sideways down the freeway, screeching on all four tires, going 60 miles an hour down the freeway, hopping. And unfortunately, I've seen the YouTube videos, so I understand what's going to happen next. I knew it was going to roll over, and it was rolling driver's side first. So started to roll. As soon as it started to tip, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I was probably going to get decapitated. That's usually what happens in big, stupid trucks that are so heavy like this. So I immediately grabbed the steering wheel, pinned myself against the seat as hard as I could. That thing rolled 3 times over through a cyclone fence into a kind of a residential area. Blessed, I didn't hit anyone. Only thing I took out was a fence and the truck. Um, Truck stops. I'm awake the whole time. As I'm, trucks going through the air. There's glass. There's metal crunching. I can just hear it just blowing apart. And a lot of it's fiberglass, because it's a show truck. So things are just flying everywhere. It stops. Now the truck is laying on its side, passenger side on the ground, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm alive. It's a miracle. How the heck was that even possible? And then all of a sudden I start hearing the dreaded sound of fluid hitting the ground. We all know what that fluid is, most likely gas, diesel. This was a big old diesel truck, so it was most likely dumping diesel everywhere. So first thing, I gotta get out of the truck. I don't want to burn alive in the truck. Bless one of my friends I went to high school with. Unfortunately, right after high school, when we were 18, he wrecked his Mustang, burned alive in the Mustang, couldn't get out of the thing. That's how he went. That's all I could think about was poor Kyle. I was like, I gotta get out of this thing. I'm not going out this way. So I undo my seatbelt, fall through the truck to the passenger side because I'm on the
Breaks
driver's
your
side. Fall
hanging.
through. Yep, I'm hanging in it. And I fall, smack against the ground. I get out through the sunroof because sunroof's gone. So I crawl out the sunroof there, and then once I'm out of the sunroof, I get out of the truck and I'm like, there's no fluid on the ground. There's no diesel. Like I just filled up. There should be diesel everywhere. There's nothing on the ground. And as I turn my head, I can hear the sound. I keep hearing the slapping of the liquid hitting the ground, but it changes. I realize there's actually a cut on my head, huge gash right above my ear, shooting blood projectile onto the ground. That's what the sound is. At this point, I'm walking around holding my head. I walk out onto the freeway and I'm flagging cars down. Cars are stopping at this point. People are getting out of the cars and I'm begging them to let me in their car to take me to the hospital. And everybody's expression, they couldn't even get words out. They're just like this. Like they couldn't even get words out. They couldn't even speak to me because I was so mangled and the truck was in such a crazy state. And then I'm just losing blood. I'm getting dizzy. So I'm like, I go back to the truck. I sit on the curb, and I'm starting to go in and out of consciousness. And all of a sudden I see the little short shorts of a postal worker running up, and they take their jacket, they wrap it around my head, they hold me tight there, try to keep my blood in. And that's where the lights go out. And it's the most stereotypical event you've ever you know, witnessed the typical white light, the soothing voices guiding you to that light, all the pain gone, all that urgency gone, fear gone. I'm in a happy place. Everything's fine. Truck, I don't remember a truck. And as soon as I'm there, those voices change. They go back to urgency. It's someone saying, Casey, it's me, Jake. Sean Payne's friend. It's me, Jake. Casey. And I snap out of it. The firefighter in front of me was a high school friend that I used to hang out with. Saved my life. How crazy is that? And all I could get out was save me, brother. They rushed me to the ER. They're wheeling me to go give me scans, this and that. And the nurse, she says, who can we contact? Who can we get here? I can't remember phone numbers. This stupid thing, it's dumbed us all down. We can't remember phone numbers. We can't get anywhere. My best friend, she owned a hair salon downtown. I said, can you call Jenica Fox? She owns a hair salon downtown. Just look it up. It's called the Fox Den. She's said, oh my gosh, that's my hairdresser. I've known her family forever. I'll call Jenica right now. Small town.
Wow.
Jenica and her mom were there immediately. They're holding my hand as the doctors stapling my head, closing up the wound. They put 15 staples into me, and they told me if I would have lost just an ounce more blood, I would have had to have a transfusion because I was right there.
Mm.
So I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. Doctors told me when I was laying there in the bed, like hours later after getting out of the surgery, they told me don't move my legs, don't even try, because they didn't know how bad it was. I was like, but I walked out, and they're like, that could have been adrenaline. You may not walk ever again. We don't know the extent of the damage to your vertebrae. 24 hours later, they come in with a harness. They say, hey, Casey, can you try to sit up and put this harness on? And I was like, well, the doctor said, I don't know, I shouldn't move my legs. They're like, oh, yeah, that's you. Hold on a second. So another doctor comes in. Okay, hold on a second. We're going to do this real slow. So they had me slowly get up, put the harness on. They're like, well, you did put the harness on really good. I'm like, well, my old industry had to be in boom lifts in the air. So it's easy to put on a harness. So I get the harness on. They're like, okay, move your right leg. Okay, I can move that. All right, put your right leg on the ground. Okay, I can do that. All right, try to stand up. Okay, I can stand up. Try to walk forward. Okay, I can walk forward. Okay, walk to the door. Okay, you made it to the door. Let's have you go lay back down because that was a lot. Heck no. 10 minutes ago, I didn't know if I could walk again. I want to walk. So the next 4 hours I spent just walking around the whole floor of the area there, and actually two of my other really good friends, their fiancés were nurses at the hospital, and they actually worked on that floor. They told me later on that everyone on that floor referred to me as a ghost. Apparently, at the Queen of the Valley medical facility, they refer to people that should not be here as ghosts, and that's
Mm.
what I was referred to as. I'm blessed, and
Wow.
the biggest thing about this story is I'd only been at Canopy Connect for 3 months, and they were there for me, jumping on Zoom calls, building me up. Tolga, he knew my favorite drink was boba. So he was sending boba drinks, jamba juices to the hospital, not just for me, but for the medical staff. They were taking care of me. When I got out of the hospital, one of the first people at my doorstep was Tolga Tizel, the founder of Camp Connect. The first four people, somebody that's only known you for 3 months, only met you digitally over the internet, took a chance on you because you weren't even in sales, needless tech sales. You came from live entertainment, you know. You placed a bet on me, and I made sure to let that bet ride.
Wow. Man, well, thank you seriously for being willing to talk through this story. It's been sitting with me ever since you told me the first time. And not everybody's going to have a near death experience, right? I've met a couple in my life. You being one of them, the other being our mortgage broker. And I see a change in people that have gone through that. You've kind of seen the other side, and for you being able to wake up every day and have kind of that fresh perspective. I think for a lot of the audience, right? Like don't go intentionally getting in a situation like that just to have the experience. But I think we can all really learn from it and take from it, and just be able to take a moment for ourselves. Whether you're an agency owner on here, you've got a lot of focus and attention right now on growth and staff and a million things moving around in your head. I think being able to step back and go I was gifted today, I got today and I'm here, is a fantastic perspective to have in life, and will give you a lot more clarity as well. Sometimes I think we're so close to the business that we forget to step back as humans and be like, what am I doing here? I have a purpose on earth. I have time here. This is something I'm talented at, that I'm involved in, but it is not your identity. The agency is not your identity, right? And if you can have clarity of mind that hey, each day is a gift, your operating procedure and the way that you run your business will be so different from being like held hostage to your business ultimately, Casey. So I just really appreciate you sharing the story. And anybody out there who's maybe shared a similar experience or anything like that, I'll link in Casey's profile afterwards if you want to connect and maybe chat with him. But really, really appreciate that. And, looking at the culture of Canopy Connect, right? I think that's an amazing testament about your ownership, the leadership you have in place. Coming from the staffing side, we always say, like, you need to bet on people. You need to find people that are, the right fit based on they're hungry, they're bright eyed, they bring good energy, they bring positivity, they've got a willingness to learn. And you make bets on people if you want to build champions. And you get so many businesses that get tied into like, I just have to find the person who fits the perfect profile with the perfect background. And then they miss, not every time, but they miss a lot when they hire that way. So it's awesome to see just your journey and like how successful you've been and how many agents you've helped coming from the entertainment space and then having leadership. And I think, anybody who's out there at running a business right now, if you have somebody on your team go through something, it's really easy to just focus on you, right? Oh, what an inconvenience. Now we have somebody out, right? I'm just saying, like, this is a mentality that's shared by some people, or, well, maybe that's not going to work out and we'll just move on or whatever. Look at the impact and the perspective from Casey's vantage point when he's going through something. He's 3 months in, but he's getting treated like somebody who's been there for 20 years, right? Like, being able to be there for him as a human being. Now, imagine, like, I'm sure for you, the buy-in that you instantly had on like, whoa, now I'm not only sold on the company, I'm sold on the ownership. So your opportunities when team members are going through something or suffering or having an experience is that it's probably one of your best opportunities to step up as a human being. Forget the ownership piece and go like, what can I do as a human to step in? And, you invest into your team, you invest in the people around you, and it's always going to come back around ultimately to you as well. So really, really appreciate the story.
100%. Because I'm now able to share that story with, new hires that Canopy Connect. And it gives them knowing that they're with a company that's going to care. If something pops up, they're not going to be left out to dry. It's fantastic, to be honest, to be able to share that story um, with others. I feel blessed to wake up to share that story.
Amen. Oh, absolutely. We got a whole 24 hours, I think. So it's good stuff. I'll take it every single day. And, understanding now kind of some of the value system and like the people behind Canopy Connect, what I'd love to dive into is Canopy Connect, right? And the actual solution. And I want to do this a little different instead of like, hey, Casey, hit me with your 30-second, what is it? Can you describe to me how Canopy Connect works from the prospect's point of view? So we're talking the customer's point of view. And let's start there because that's what it's all about. So what is a customer experience with Canopy Connect? When is that being unveiled to them and what do they walk through?
Of course, what about the person that we're selling the insurance to? Normally, this is the last thing they want to do because they assume it's going to be worse than going to the doctor's office because they got to get all this documentation together. They got to do all these things just to maybe get better coverage, maybe save a little bit of money. So a lot of people out there, they just push the insurance off to the side because they assume it's going to be a nightmare to get involved with. And then when they do finally decide to go get a quote, it depends on who they're going to get the quote from. Are they going to Joe Schmo that's going to ask a million questions? They're going to have to get all these documents together, email everything back and forth, or they get somebody where they get on the phone with them and they just say, hey, Andy, I'd love to get this quote started for you. At my agency, we do things a little differently. I'm going to send you something we call the easy button. It's going to take you about 30 seconds. It allows us to save a bunch of time. Say you having to download documents to email over to me, reading off VIN numbers to me, trying to go over coverages line by line. We can skip all that and I can get to work for you in the background. You got about 30 seconds?
Mm. And so it's texted or emailed over and they log in and then what are they doing?
They're literally just selecting their carrier, putting in their username and password that they usually use for online bill pay. So it's something pretty available. They hit
Yep.
submit and that's it. They're done. And pretty much they just click on the easy button and then all of a sudden they get what they want. They get that proposal. They get that trusted advisor feeling. Instead of the interrogation, what they were putting off, they get something completely different. It's almost as if they're back at school, but it's somebody that actually knows a thing or two, the agent. And we're getting down to, instead of a bunch of fluff, we're actually getting down to what can help them. And that's going to be the difference using Canopy Connect. You're just a trusted advisor out the gates instead of building up to be the trusted advisor. That's who you've been the whole time.
Do you see reactions from customers, Casey, in terms of like first time users and their first walkthrough? Is it like, does it just happen and they don't even notice? Or do you get actual reactions from people, either positive, mediocre, negative, whatever? But what are you seeing there in terms of like customer reactivity to it?
It's amazing. I hear from customers all the time that are, send me emails, give me calls that, hey, I wasn't sure how my prospect's going to feel about this. And people are thanking me because I'm making this so much easier than the agent they talked to earlier. They're saying, "Oh, thanks for making me not have to go through all these hoops just to see what you can do for me."
That's awesome. So you're actually like, I would think increasing the value of your brand, like the value of Amazon is partially not just inventory, it's checkout process, it's speed to delivery, right? It's the efficiency that people love. You can go to Walmart and buy the same things you buy on Amazon, 80% of the time, but it's the experience, it's the convenience. So it's like you instantly give your agency a lift because you're creating a better customer experience, all serving the customer better, which is ultimately going to lead to better branding, better growth. Um, One of the things I'd be curious about with the tool as well, because now you got my wheels turning. Can agents use the tool with, like, I don't know, referral partners, maybe lenders, realtors? And if so, and maybe there's other ideas as well, but how are people getting like creative with it as well and using it as like maybe even a prospecting tool? Is that a component to this or no?
Oh yeah, can I share my screen? I'll show you exactly what they're doing with those
Yeah,
real estate agents.
100%.
Give me 1 second here.
Because I think that's another obviously all the time hot topic is like increase quote volume, have better penetration, et cetera. So let me add this. There we go.
Perfect. So if you just go to the Camp Connector, you can make as pretty much any link you could think about. You can make as many links as you want. We don't charge by that. You can make them for real estate agents. With those real estate agent links, we could brand it to them. Put the real estate agent's name here, real estate agent's headshot, real estate agent's name, and then your agency's name. So it's an easy transition from that real estate agent to you. And what our agents are doing here, they take it another step further because each link has its own QR code. They get a little PVC pedestal just like this. They put that real estate agent's headshot right here and then a pitch about the insurance agency. So then that referral partner, they don't have to remember anything. We're able to give the consumer the pitch we want to give them. And then we have that QR code right here. Real estate agent, they bring this to the open house. They put this on the kitchen counter. And now we're building more business because normally with real estate agent, we don't get those leads to the end of the deal cycle when they're closing on the home. But what about everybody that walked through the open house that hated the backyard and they're got to get in their car and drive back to their apartment? But well, hold on, saying they have insurance. Why aren't we helping them out until they're ready to hit their goals of buying their dream home? So now you're able to get prospects that maybe they can't get a hold of their agent. Maybe their rates have gone up. They want to know what's going on in the world. They can scan this QR code and they can get in front of that trusted advisor instantly.
That's awesome. And what happens when somebody fills that out? Does it go into just API into their CRM and then it pops as a lead for the sales team to call then?
Exactly. It will drop the data right into their CRM or into the rater. If they're using like Easy Links, PL Rating, Quote Rush, Triple Rater, any one of those. It's just going to take the data, instantly push the data in there, and give you 80 to 90% of what you need to quote the prospect. You also have the full policies, declaration pages, claims, incidents going back 7 years of the carrier. We're also able to get you year built, square footage, and estimator costs from the county assessor. And we're able to push all that right where you need it to go instantly. We could even help you if you're, quoting direct. You gotta go direct to 10 carriers. We have a new ability to essentially super paste that data into that carrier's website for you too.
Wow. And do you get competitive information with it as well?
Oh yeah, you're gonna know exactly what they're paying, but the biggest thing here is you're gonna know what they're not covered for because the home policy. It could be 70 pages of information. Page 59, that's the one that goes over what they're not covered for, the fine print, the details that a price tag doesn't reveal. And that's where the power of Canopy Connect is uncovering those hidden things that the consumer may not know about. I've had agents tell me that they've had prospects click on the Canopy Connect link and they've been able to save them thousands of dollars just by finding policies that weren't canceled that were supposed to be canceled. Literally getting refund checks. It's insane. I've heard multiple stories of agents being able to get thousands of dollars back for prospects that weren't even at their agency because the current agency forgot to cancel a home that they sold.
Wow, and this so this is super interesting. Going back to one of the prior things you said that I think plays into this well too is like your team should be spending time helping the prospect, finding the solution. They shouldn't be 90% of their time information gathering to try to fit together a jigsaw puzzle because then you've got patience with the customer. You've only got so much time with them. They only have so much energy to give you, and if you spend 90% of your time just like, well, what about this? And investigating their current policy and looking at their coverages, they might not even know where to look or give you that information that's actually accurate, or they might tell you something that's not true, and they might um, give you a rate or something that's actually not accurate, which would throw off negotiations or the overall value anyway. Really, really interesting. If I were a sales professional, I wouldn't want to do business in the insurance space without this because I would want to know every single time, what do you have? What do you not have? How much are you paying? What are our options? And then you can get right down into business. And like we run a weekly training class for producers across the country. And one of the biggest challenges they have beyond just overcoming objections is just this. It's that I got to get through communication so I can spend a huge amount of time gathering the pieces and putting them together in a way that, you know, makes sense and that I can actually like proceed with this quote. But by the time they get 90% through that call, the customer's pretty much ready to go. And we're just now getting to business. So all they really have time for is like, here's the quote, yay or nay. And there's not a lot of time in there with a lot of these prospects, especially internet leads, to be able to work the deal. All you've done is put the deal together. You haven't been able to work it. So I love that. And is there any other like innovation or creative sort of approach to it beyond the surface level solution, which is amazing, by the way, that you're maybe also seeing people use? And also for like our audience, if there's anybody using Canopy Connect with its most basic features, you know, if somebody wanted to become a super user, what are they doing within Canopy Connect?
They are just listening to what the other agents are doing and copying them. Because we've been rolling down the road for quite a while. I recreate the wheel. We already have the blueprints on how agents are using it on social media, how our agents are using those QR codes, just like I showed you with those little PVC pedestals. Um, and then we've even caught word of a lot of Allstate agents that were signing up for us for one reason that we even create the product for retention. Some all age agent was having huge success saving people that were wanting to churn. Other all stations caught wind and signed up with us just for that. Didn't even know that they could use us with prospects. I got on the phone with one. They're like, they were blown away that when I asked them, you know, hey, have you ever used it with any prospects? They're like, what do you mean use it with any prospects? I got this because it was supposed to help with the retention on my book. I've been having a lot of cancellations. The other all stations said that's how they've been saving their customers. I was like, hold on a second. What do you mean? So when somebody would call in to cancel a policy with that Allstate agent, instead of meeting the consumer with roadblocks, us trying to save it, we don't want to lose it. Instead, the Allstate agent, you called in, they could say, hey, Andy, no worries at all. Let's cancel that policy immediately for you. The only thing we need to do here is we just need to digitally verify the new policy with your new carrier to cancel it with Allstate. Once we do, we can cancel it immediately. Do you have about 30 seconds? We can digitally verify that and I cancel it on the call here with you. Now we've met Andy where he wants to be met, doing what Andy wants to do, except we just got to do this one little thing for Allstate. We get those documents, and then the Allstate agent is able to say, oh, hey, Andy, hold on a second. I was about to cancel your policy. Were you aware of? Did you know about? We're able to dive right back into the value, the why they were at your agency in the beginning, because most likely they're leaving because they saw a shiny price tag, but nobody turned the price tag around and showed them it's held together with some bubblegum zip ties if they're lucky because they gutted the policies to get the price down.
Hmm. Man, that's beautiful and such an amazing point. And it's like, you'll see some very experienced people know how to finesse that conversation, but it's one of those things that can be, hit or miss if you don't have a successful process. And I love that this brings that element of surprise out of it. And like you said, you meet the customer where they want to be met. You're giving them what they want. Hey, I'm here to help you with that. Let's get it taken care of. I can be easy breezy, but then I can use fact, not emotion, to actually start to try to move that needle back in our favor. And it's not ragging on the customer. It's not giving them a hard time. It's not some manipulative sales tactic. It's just fact. It's like, well, I'm looking at this and this is a gap. Were you aware of that? So yeah, it gets right back down to, selling on value and actually solving a problem for them. So that's beautiful. And then when you implement this system, I don't know about you, but I've rarely met agency owners that aren't pretty keyed into their ROI, their KPIs. They want to know that, hey, if we're investing in different tools, we're getting a return for it. What sort of KPIs and different metrics do you typically see agencies measuring, or that you recommend measuring, to really see what is the impact of Canopy Connect? And then a follow-up to that might be like, how long does it typically take to start to see those results?
It depends on the agency. Depends on how quick they are into implementing the Canopy Connect. We see right out the gates, average time savings is 30 minutes per prospect because you don't have to do all the back and forth. You're easily able to save much time, and then your close ratio goes up because you're a trusted advisor. Of course, they need you. It's not a matter of, oh, Andy, my policy is going to be renewing in a couple months. Let's circle back then and see if you got a good proposal then. It's like, oh, hold on a second, Andy. I got to drive home from work, and you're saying that I don't have that gap coverage on that new Ford F-350, and if somebody sideswipes me, I'm going to be upside down on my loan. Whereas you said we get 20% above what my loan actually is right now, payoff. Like, can you get me coverage now? You're also saying my home doesn't have water backup. My neighbor just had to deal with that, and that was $20,000 out of their pocket.
Wow. Yeah, that's that's very, very interesting. It's funny because, like, as you describe it more, it keeps coming back to that same point of like, do we want to fly blind or do we want to fly with a map? And like when you can come in with the map and see the different pieces, you could just operate at such a higher level. So I love that. And in terms of like adoption, honestly, what are you seeing from salespeople that experience it for the first time? Are there any things they maybe have to get used to where it's like, look, this is just going to be a learning curve for you guys, and maybe it's going to be a headache for a couple of days and then you're going to love it? Or is it love at first sight? And like realistically, right, for real, like what are you seeing the reaction from the sales producers who are using the tool first week?
When we see, a producer that, they're new to the industry, they don't know anything. They don't even know what a deck page is. When they get their hands on Canopy Connect, they're a seasoned veteran now because they didn't know how to write the policy. Now, when they have the current policy, they just make it a little better, and now they're number one. They're the hero in the story. Um, Now, our more veteran agents, when they see this, they're like, Casey, where were you 20 years ago? They tell me about all these forms they had to do. They tell me everything that my dad had to do. And I'm able to sympathize with them because I understand the struggles that they faced. I watched my dad do it. It's brutal. And they're just blown away by how easy they can make it for their consumer, because we live in a day and age where everybody's being pulled this way and that way. And the true value is time. And we're able to give some time back to the soccer mom that's got to go pick up the kids, the dad that's rushing home with dinner for the family. Now we're the hero because we made them the hero.
And that's beautiful. I love it. And one of the things I'll definitely want to get from you before we close up today is just where people can get a hold of you, where they can connect with Canopy Connect. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you are out there every day, collaborating, working with thousands of agencies. If you had to point agencies in the direction of one other technology other than Canopy Connect, other than Team Hired, other than anything we've talked about, But somebody who's not on this call, not a sponsor of the show, nothing like that. Just, hey, this is a technology other than us in a different segment of the tech world that you're seeing also have a significant impact. I'd just be curious, since you get to see honest reactions from agents when they talk to you, I'm sure, about what they love and what they don't vendor wise. What's like the number one tech tool that any agency should absolutely go check out, in your opinion?
Something to automate stuff. Like your agency Zooms, insurance minds, the follow up. You know, when somebody scans this QR code when you're out and about that baseball game, it'd be sure nice if they immediately got an email thanking them, or maybe they scan the QR code of that referral partner. It'd be cool if we sent them an email, text message thanking them, asking them when they're going to be closing on that home. Getting a little bit deeper without us being tied to this thing 24/7. Because what if they come through at 11 p.m.? We want to respond to them ASAP. Some sort of automation tool to help take the burden off of being connected 24/7. Again, giving you some time back in your day. Now, getting those set up, they can be a little painstaking.
Mm-hmm.
I do suggest, if you're not so tech savvy, talking to you know, a consultant, someone that actually builds these things 24/7. Um, they know a thing or two. Personally, if I was just getting into the agency, first thing I'd be looking at is insurance intake, and then some way to automate once the lead comes in to communicate with them after when I'm sleeping.
Beautiful. And free your team up to do what they do best and not deal with the paperwork or the busy work, but focus on the customer and be responsive. I love that. And yeah, there's definitely a plethora of automation tools. Some of you are on them. Some of you are like, yeah, I've been on that train for a while now. And some of you have been staring over that cliff for too long. And you know who you are. You're like, I've been thinking about automating and systematizing and cleaning this thing up. And look, if you don't make a change, nothing's going to change. So maybe this is your sign here in Casey say it today, where it's like, yeah, maybe it's time for me to dive into that world, because now with artificial intelligence coming down stacked on top of automation, agencies are going to get smoked if they're not willing to adapt and change and learn what's new. So this has been amazing. I could talk with you literally all day, Casey. But as we come to the final minute of the show, I wanted to see where people can get a hold of you. Where would you like them to reach out if they want to learn about Canopy Connect or collaborate with you, or just get to know you better? And where can they reach out best over the next day or two to get a hold of you?
Fantastic. I just shared my screen again. Here's my email, my phone number. You can call and text me, and then you can also scan the QR code to book some time with me. Um, we're doing a 14-day free trial. If you use it 5 times, it doubles your free trial. And we're also doing another thing where your free trial, the countdown actually doesn't start until you do your onboarding, which is free and included. So if you signed up for an account today and you book your onboarding for, next Friday, that's when the countdown starts. But you have unlimited usage during that, before the countdown starts and during that free trial, because at the end of the day, we hope you use it 500 times for free, close a bunch of business, and pay for it for the next couple of years. Because all we want to do is get you a return on investment. And there's no contract, so if you don't like it, you're not stuck here.
Love that. Thank you for putting this together. This is perfect. And I actually, now that I think about it, would expect nothing less from you. So this is
Thank you, my
great.
man.
And
Thank you.
yeah, it's super interesting technology. I actually first ran across you guys because there was one of the largest captive agents in the country was just raving about you on a video on his Facebook reel. And I was like, I wonder what that is. This was several years back. And that's when I started to kind of catch wind. But it's been so good to connect with you and work with you. And I'm looking forward to the future. I know we've got some additional shows and things we're putting together that we'll get out to everybody. But Casey, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate what you guys do. I appreciate Canopy Connect, and thank you for sharing your story as well with us today.
Of course, Andy. Thank you so much for having me here, my man. Look forward to many more calls with you. Needless to say.
Same here. Same here. And for our audience, whether you're watching live or you're watching the restream, make sure you reach out and give Casey some love on Facebook. You can rewind, scan his QR code, connect with him there. And we appreciate everybody being here with us. We will be back next week, same time, same place here in the Insurance Syndicate Group at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time for another great episode of Ask the Experts. But thank you everybody for joining today.